Many Americans are still in desperate need of financial help as they await a COVID-19 relief package to come. President Trump has threatened to block a bipartisan spending bill, which includes a $900 billion plan for COVID relief. 11 Alive Shanu Her explains where the bill sits now.
On Friday from Mar-a-Lago in Florida, President Donald Trump continued his push for lawmakers to up the amount of direct payments to Americans, which is included in the COVID-19 stimulus package. Trump's tweet Friday saying made many calls and had meetings at Trump International in Palm Beach, Florida. Why would politicians not want to give people $2,000 rather than only $600? It wasn't their fault. It was China. Give our people the money. House Democrats voted to support the president, but House Republicans killed the bill. Ellenwood, Georgia resident Ricky Jackson lost both of his jobs earlier this year and is one of the Americans who is desperate for help.
That is horrible, the way that they would allow the American people to suffer like that. And that is horrible. And they work for us. I cannot believe of what's going on with that stimulus deal.
Jackson says he's burned through his savings, 401k, and hasn't even gotten his unemployment benefits because of holdups at the Department of Labor.
They're telling me to call the commissioner. I've tried, I've emailed the commissioner, no email back. No, I left voicemails, no return call or anything.
As Jackson waits, he says whether it's $600 or $2,000, he wants lawmakers to act now. President Trump still hasn't said if he will sign or veto the current bill.
What's going on is not affecting them, it's affecting us, especially during the holidays. That is not some good news that you would want to get.
And now to those online claims that undocumented immigrants will get